Yeah, I'd like to. Who is it that maybe someone from the USDA, the administration, could tell us why.
What are we going to do if we do that? Let's go. Yeah.
I think we're going to go ahead. We're all accountable to the same American taxpayers and the American people. We are going to go ahead. I'm glad to be joined by my colleagues, Senator Alsobrooks, Congressman Ivey, Congressman Hoyer, Congressman Raskin, Congresswoman April Delaney was with us earlier, and we're joined by County Executive Aisha Brayboy, also by some terrific members of the state legislature. It was not that long ago we all gathered together with a simple message, which is that BARC provides really important resources and research for the country, and that it should stay right here where it is in Prince George's County, Maryland. And today we saw firsthand why that's important. We did see a lot of the needs for ongoing maintenance. There's no doubt about that. But whenever we had an opportunity to talk to people about the important work that was done here, the special nature of BARC came through to all of us. And this isn't the first time many of us have been here. Congressman Hoyer's been here many times. Others have been here before. But while the people at BARC focus on doing the hard work for the American people, they don't spend a lot of time talking about it publicly. And so it's up to us to make sure that people around the country know what kind of premier research facility we have here at BARC. And there are many things that American consumers take for granted in their everyday lives that actually originated here at BARC. So, for example, grass seed that you use in your backyard, the mosquito repellent you put on when you go for a hike, yoga tomatoes, turkeys that you eat at Thanksgiving, big plum fries. All of those are brought to you by research here at BARC. And that's just on the consumer side. For farmers, it is especially important that BARC continue to do its work. They do important work on crop disease resistance to make sure that farmers can develop their crops in a way that are less vulnerable to pests. They provide very important work in the area of livestock. We talked about poultry. We also talk about dairy. If you just go down the line of American agriculture, BARC is doing something very special. And they also do things that are absolutely unique. One, this location, just geographically, is in a sort of environmental status that reflects the diversity of so many parts of the country. You know, we call Maryland American miniature. This BARC ag facility is able to test many different kinds of crops on many different kinds of climate conditions. And one of the things they've done are these long-term studies. In other words, they've been doing studies, some have gone on for over 10 years, on the land here at BARC. You can't just uproot that and take it to another part of the country and expect to be able to have the work they've done and the investments they've made on behalf of the American people continue to be able to produce those important results. I want to close by just mentioning the bee research that's being done here, because what they do here is literally keeping the bee industry and honey industry buzzing, because BARC is home to the nation's preeminent bee research laboratory, where just this year there was a breakthrough discovery in diagnosing a widespread bee colony collapse. I think all of you know that honeybees are crucial to the country's commercial food system. They're critical link in that chain. And in the U.S. alone, are responsible for pollinating $15 billion worth of crops a year. $15 billion. And it's BARC's work that makes sure that that industry continues to hum and continues to buzz. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to turn this over now to Congressman Hoyer and then to Senator Alsobrooks, and then we're going to hear from other members of our delegation. But our message is very clear. that yes, we understand that bark needs greater investments in order to address the parts of the bark where you have failing infrastructure. But on much of the rest of the bark campus, you have amazing research and amazing scientists. And I want to end by thanking all the scientists that are here, because you cannot uproot those scientists and expect to have the same quality of work done. Many eminent scientists here, and we know that they're, in many cases, not likely just to move their families to other parts of the country if bark was moved. And so that would be a huge loss of brain power and science power. Let me now turn it over to Congressman Hoyer. Alsobrooks. Senator Alsobrooks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am so glad to be here today with the rest of Team Maryland. I'm sure it's a wonderful facility to be in. I think today underscores what Team Marylanders already know about bark. That's that Marylanders understand just how valuable this particular facility is. It is not just important to Marylanders. This is the nation's agricultural powerhouse, infrastructure that is so valuable to the rest of the world. And we know as well that this will be a big mistake. You heard Senator Van Hollen outline so many of the uses that really do power farmers all across our country. But it would be a huge mistake to close this facility. We can start with the fact that closing bark and recognizing the USDA that you can't close it without congressional approval. This would be illegal. But even beyond that, closing bark would make a mistake. Bark has been a world leader in agricultural research for over a century. So many agricultural breakthroughs that happen right here to help this nation set the bar, not only here, but again, it is that America is a global leader in research, science, medicine, and I would dare say that our research prowess is what makes America exceptional. America exceptionalism depends on the kind of work that happens right here every day. And that is a standard that we cannot afford to lose. We cannot cede our position to the rest of the world as a global powerhouse in research. And as much as bark means to the rest of the world, its importance right here in Beltsville is just as critical. Bark helps to train the next generation of agricultural researchers. They're the ones doing the work that keeps us competitive on the world stage. They're also the ones who are making discoveries that keep our food healthy and safe. Relocating this facility hurts our ability to train the next wave of scientists and researchers who will keep America's food sources safe. Relocating this facility will also make it impossible to take advantage of the unique benefits of this location. Not only will bark have access to a wide range of environments, but we also know because of Maryland's powers, it also connects us to the scientific community here. And is a support system that only the capital region can provide. It provides the crucial information that our government depends on to make policy. And there are critical research projects that just can't be moved. You've heard Senator Van Hollen talk about that, but what we know is decades upon decades of important research literally would not survive the move and would be lost. It is not just the buildings, in other words, that are really important to this research. It's literally the soil that has been key to so many of the research, and you can't uproot the soil. This soil is really, really important, and so we would literally throw away decades of valuable information. And our farmers cannot afford to leave this facility here. 83,000 farms in the Chesapeake Bay watershed produce over $10 billion annually in agricultural sales, growing a critical supply of fruit and vegetables. And eliminating bark would eliminate much-needed resources to these farms, as well as hurt the food supply for millions. Our nation's farmers are already suffering as a result
federal property. This is not about politics. This is about politics. This is not about politics. This is about rationally organizing our agricultural community to succeed and be the best at what they do in the world. Which, as Senator pointed out, Beltsville is. Senator Rosenthal has represented this area forever. House delegation as well. I want to thank them for the focus that they bring to this fight. I introduced legislation in 1986 on the appropriation bill that said you cannot vote without the Congress authorization. I pray that the Congress will not give that authorization because the synergy that this team, it's a big campus. It's mostly ground and trees and vegetables and livestock, etc., etc. There are buildings here as well. Some need repair. But what doesn't need repair are the people. It's not the bricks and mortar, it is the people, the extraordinary talent that has been aggregated here at Beltsville Agricultural Research Center, which has produced those Nobel Prizes, which has produced what Senator Hollen and Senator outlined as the results of that research. This is about the American people. This is about the American people's welfare. This is about the American people's health and safety. And so we, as a delegation to the Congress of the United States, along with Glen Ivey, who does in fact represent Beltsville at this point in time, as do the we're going to fight this for the American people, for the ag community, not only here, but around the country. We all rely on the research here at the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. Now I could talk about the number of employees that we lost, the number of employees here, all of them. But I represent Tax River. That's the Navy's Naval Air Research, Development, Testing, and Evaluation. Back in 1992, the federal government made a determination to aggregate together the synergy of having all those together. Geometrically, that's what we're fighting. That's what we need to do for America. That's what we need to do for our people. And that's what we need to do for the world that relies on us for the best up-to-date research they can get to make their people safe and healthy. We talk about making America healthy again. We're not going to make America healthy again if we reduce the ability this facility, unique in the world, to research how to do that. I now yield to my colleague and representative from this area, Glen.
Thank you very much. It's great to be back here. I was here about a year and a half ago and did a tour, and I looked at one of the poultry facilities that was not in great shape. I broke it down, we did a tour, and the people, the scientists who were doing the work, shows the conditions that they were working in. This delegation secured $50 million from the Biden administration, from the Department of Agriculture. And we were able to see the results of some of that money. We moved from out of that building into pretty much a state-of-the-art facility now. It's quite impressive. And that's one of the things, there's been a multi-billion-dollar investment of American taxpayers in this space. You can just pick it up and you're squandering that money. And it's expensive to move. And you have to build new facilities wherever you go. And you're going to lose the human capital if you try and get them all to move out to wherever they're trying to take them to. It doesn't make any sense. It's terrible stewardship of the American tax dollars. And that's one of the reasons we should oppose it. Another one, just quickly, Steny was talking about synergy here within the campus, but there's synergy outside of the campus too. You've got NASA just down the street, NOAA's nearby. They do work together using the satellites to address climate change issues. So the agricultural piece can be combined with the satellite research and guidance, and you get a better product altogether. And we're state-of-the-art worldwide, helping provide guidance for making the world a better bread basket moving forward as the conditions change. So I think it's great to have it here. It's been a tremendous success for the United States and the world. We need to keep it here and make sure we keep moving it forward. Continue to rebuild it, continue to grow it, continue to expand it. It's doing great here. Don't break it because it ain't don't break it because it's in great shape now. Thanks so much, and Mr. Raft.
Thank you, Glenn, and it is a pleasure to be here at this very significant facility for the American people. This is where all of the most advanced work is being done on livestock protection, on soil protection, on microbial research to keep the food supply safe and clear. And there is a very storied and important history to this facility. It's called the Henry A. Wallace Beltsville Agricultural Research Center because Henry Wallace, who was among other things a farmer and discovered or invented hybrid corn, was named the Secretary of Agriculture in the Roosevelt administration, and spent a lot of his time out here reading precisely the kinds of experiments that the American people needed to have big jumps forward in terms of agricultural safety and health. And those gains have continued over the subsequent decades. So the idea to simply shut down the Henry A. Wallace Beltsville Agricultural Research Center and then distribute its facilities and different functions in lots of different places across the country will set us back many years, if not decades, in terms of the research that's going on. And the move to try to strip federal functions from the national capital area and to relocate them to other places is not a move to improve the federal government and its research capacity. It's a move to dismantle it and to demobilize it. And so we've got to resist this on behalf of the American people with everything we've got. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the County Executive for Prince George County, Aisha Brayson.
First, let me start by thanking the men and women who work every day in a bipartisan fashion to keep us safe, to keep us healthy, and to keep us alive. That's the researchers, the scientists, all of the employees here at the Beltsville Agricultural Research
make sure that those buildings and those buildings themselves, the people and the research that are doing incredibly valuable work on behalf of the American people and the American farmers, that we continue to make sure that those unique assets remain in place. And I think that is the ultimate reason that we're here. Because as others have said, I think Congressman Ivey emphasized the fact that is very expensive in terms of the programs and buildings. Moving people, you would lose a whole lot of time. We've seen that in the past when we've seen locations away from this area where we have some of the synergies with other agencies. And I do think it's important to reflect on those folks. And I will say this, that as of January of this year, 11 of the there are many more scientists out there, many scientists, but 11 of the distinguished senior research scientists in the country who are part of the Agricultural Research Service nationwide, 11 of them are here. That's 1/3 of all of them. 1/3 of all of those distinguished research fellows in the country are right here. And so risk losing all of that with all that happening.
I normally answer that
What comes next? You sent the letter, you're coming off as a front here. What comes next? This is a multi-year plan. How are you going to prevent it from becoming a reality?
Well, as Senator Alsobrooks pointed out, there's actually a provision in current law. There are two provisions. One relates to moving the operations. The other, much older provision, which Congressman Hoyer put in the law back in the 80s, has to do with the fact. But in terms of the provision relating to moving operations, it's very clear that you cannot do that without notifying Congress and getting congressional approval. So, we may have a back and forth with the administration on that, but we're happy to provide you with that session. Yes, thank you. There's a comment period right now in terms of the proposal that they end September 30th. Ending September 30th. Thank you, Senator Alsobrooks. Any other questions?
As far as I've seen, the USDA hasn't really released many specifics yet or a specific timeline apart from a multi-year plan. In conversations with USDA officials, have you gotten any more specific sense of their plans for how they would execute this?
I've not seen specifics of the plan. As you probably know, there's a lot of concern about their plans with respect to the Agricultural Research Service generally. Right? So there's bipartisan concern in Congress with respect to the fact that we haven't gotten much information regarding those plans. Now, there was a hearing in the Senate Ag Committee. There have probably been hearings in the House. There was I can tell you on a bipartisan basis, senators were very clear about their concerns, not only about the Agricultural Research Service, but some of the other reorganizations that are happening at USDA generally in Washington, D.C., and the layoffs of potentially thousands of other people.
One follow-up question. This building, the National Agricultural Library, my understanding is it's technically a separate entity from the BARC itself. And the reorganization plan says something about reevaluating the uses of the library. It doesn't say that they're going to sell it or try to offload it, but have you gotten any sense of what the reorganization means for the fate of the library?
I have not, but I don't know if any of them have.
Yeah, I don't think they've gotten that far. So you're right there, they made some designations with respect to certain buildings. This one they kind of left up in the air. I think the one down the street, they're talking about selling. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of those announcements were made, one, when they realized that Congressman Hoyer put 40 years ago put provisions in there that said you can't just sell it like that. So I think there's a reevaluation there. And I think that reflects the probably premature approach they took to making the announcements that they made. And I think that's also why they extended the comment period. I think they started getting information in from people who are commenters, many of them who work here, but also from members of the Senate. I saw that hearing, and they got a lot of blowback for being unable to answer some basic questions about why you're going to move, how much it would cost, and all of those kinds of things. So my hope is that there will be, the facts will be imposed on the decision process at some point. Now they'll reevaluate.
What's the likelihood of the Republican Party rubber stamping in Congress the Secretary of Agriculture's reorganization plan? Will the Democrats have enough power to, or bipartisan support to prevent?
I'll say this. The general rule has been that Republicans in Congress rubber stamps in one area, one of the very few areas where you may see some pushback is in this area.
Okay.
It's one area where places have been pushing back. As you say, the test, of course, will be when it comes time to legislate. Thank you all very much for being here, and
How you been? Good question. Good to see you.
Hi, I'm Matt.
Appreciate it.
Good to meet you.